Tunakukaribisha kwenye mlima wa Mungu. Uko kule Thika Sarama Estate. Ukipita pale Ananas Mall kwenye barabara ya Garissa, stage inaitwa Kwaheri, Mount Zion Prayer and Retreat Center. Ikiwa unataka chumba chako peke yako, watu wawili, watu wanne na hata kikundi, tunakukaribisha. Vitu vyote ambavyo unatumia kule kwenye mlima tunapeana. Mount Zion Prayer and Retreat Center. Ikiwa ungalipenda nambari ya simu 0797953840. Mount Zion Prayer and Retreat Center. Karibuni.
Karibuni sana watazamaji wa Ezra Christian TV na hasa watazamaji wa Chumba cha Mawaidha. Leo tumewaandalia show ya kukata na shoka, na namshukuru producer wangu leo amecheza kama ye ametuchezea wimbo ambao ni mwafaka kwa mada ile ambayo tunazungumzia leo. Yebo yebo, bila Yesu hatuna letu. Kwa hivyo karibuni sana. Huyu ni Bazuu the Wise Man ambaye mnampenda sana, na leo tuko pamoja na mshauri na saa Eliud ambaye atanisaidia kuweza kupanua mbivu na mbichi hasa kuhusu post traumatic trauma, kiwewe cha baada ya mabadiliko. Na labda mwingine anauliza ni nini leo mnazungumzia nini? Bazuu, ni mambo ambayo yanapatikana na ni mambo ambayo wengine labda hata hawajaondoka, na ningependa kupeana hadithi moja ya rafiki yangu mmoja ambaye wakati wa COVID, mnakumbuka takriban miaka 5 iliyopita, kulikuwa na changamoto, watu walipoteza kazi zao na wengine bado hata hawajarecover. Na huyo kijana ama nimuite mzee bado ana ile trauma ya kupoteza kazi yake. Ni mtu ambaye alikuwa na kazi na biashara ambao ilinoga, lakini sababu ya ile COVID na kufunga kwa kila maeneo yote, basi alijipata kazi ile haimo tena. Na sasa ni miaka 5 na bado hajakubali ile hali ambayo ako nayo. Na ndio mambo ambayo tunazungumzia leo. Na kuna mabadiliko mengi yanapatikana. Unaweza kuwa ulikuwa unafanya kazi kama juzi, rafiki yangu mmoja ambaye alikuwa katika ofisi moja ya kiserikali, na simu ilikuwa masikio yake haipumziki, anazungumza na simu paka inakuwa moto. Lakini wakati alipostaafu, hata alipelekea fundi wa simu kuangalia kama simu yake bado inafanya kazi ama ifanye, sababu hakuna yote ule ambaye anampiga. Na hilo jambo lilimpiga na likamfanya awe ni kama mtu ambaye ni mgonjwa. Na ndio mambo ambayo tunazungumzia, hicho kiwewe ambacho kina kufuata baada ya mabadiliko ghafla, ndio tungependa kuizungumzia na tuweze kujua ni jinsi ambavyo ni nini hasa utaweza kufanya ili kujiondoa katika hiyo hali ya kiwewe hicho. Basi karibuni sana. Wale ambao ni wageni, naomba kwamba muweze kuandika comments zenu hapo, na pia uweze kufinya hiyo subscription na pia hiyo kengele, ili tunapoleta show kama hizi, basi wewe unakuwa ni mmoja wapo wale ambao wanazipata hapo awali. Karibu mshauri na saha Eliud, uweze kuambia wiki ilikuwa namna gani na pilika zako za mitaani zilikuwa namna gani. Karibu.
Asante sana Bazuu. Mimi nimekuwa salama. For the last 1 week I've been well. And everything has been okay. And now we meet today so that we can talk about post-transition trauma. And that is now the stress that follows after you've had a sudden change in your life. It could be sudden, could be progressive, but either way, it's a change. Yes.
Asante sana, karibu sana. Jihisi kana kwamba uko mahali ambapo unahitajika, na najua kwamba tunapofanya haya mazungumzo, ule ambaye anatutizama na anapitia hiyo hali, basi ataweza kupata mawili matatu, na hata zaidi, hata si wale ambao wako katika hiyo hali ya hicho kiwewe, pia familia, hata makanisa, na wakati mwingine atuelewi. Na najua baadaye utaweza kupeana signs zile ambazo unaweza kujua kweli huyu mtu ni kweli ako katika hiyo hali ya kiwewe cha baada ya mabadiliko ya hali fulani. Kwa hivyo karibu sana na uweze kutuelezea. Kuna wale wanauliza ya post transition trauma ni nini? Hizi mavizungu vingi zinatokea wapi? Karibu sana.
Okay. We are going to simplify the concept so that at least people can be able to understand. And the good thing with that statement, that phrase, post-transition trauma, it has 3 words. There's the first word is post, and people understand what is post.
Post ni baada.
Post is after. And when you are talking about transition, it is moving from one stage to another, or from one place to another. And then we are talking about trauma. So at least people understand trauma, which is an overwhelming psychological situation that most of the times the mind is not able to process completely. So then when we are talking about post-trauma, post-transition trauma, then we are talking about what happens after a transition, a movement from one stage to another, from one point to another, from one state to another. And that now the traumatic experience that happens after that. So we can clearly define post-transition trauma as the stress. Most of the times I like using the word distress because people don't differentiate between stress and distress. There's something we call stress, there's something we call distress, and there's something we call eustress. So when we are talking about stress, it's just a general life event or life experience that is not negative or positive. So that's why most of the times I tell people now, you need to run this so that you can stop saying nikona stress. Stress is not negative and neither is it positive. It is just that you're experiencing something that is out of your everyday experience. So something that is giving you some level of discomfort, some unpleasantness, but it is not negative and it's just unusual experience that you're having. So now we go to the negative. When you're experiencing something that is negative, then we call it distress. That is negative. So when we are experiencing something that is out of normal, and then it is positive, that's what we call eustress. So now then we can say that post-transition trauma is the distress that someone experiences after they have gone through transition of one stage to another, one state to another. So every time, change is not something that most people welcome with open arms. No.
Sijui sababu ya watu kuwa na ile mazoea, na wakati mazoea yanabadilika ghafla, basi inakuwa ni vigumu sana kuweza kutoka katika hiyo hali ya mazoea. Na hiyo jinsi sababu unasukumwa kwa nguvu, basi inaleta hiyo hali ya kiwewe ndani yako.
Yes, because it makes you feel uncomfortable. And especially the mind itself, it doesn't really like new experiences that it had not anticipated and figured out that they are coming. So when someone gets into something that is especially emotionally overwhelming, or especially an unseen or unplanned for transition, then definitely they will experience a level of distress because they were not ready to handle this. They don't feel adequate enough. They don't feel like they are ready to handle the present, the stage they have transitioned, or the state they have transitioned into. And we'll be looking at some of the experiences, the transitional experiences that we are talking about. So change is not something that the mind itself welcomes with open arms. It always tries to resist change. So the moment you try to change anything, the mind is like, I don't want to. No, unanisumbua, tunasumbuana hapa. And so the mind is always going to try and pull back when you try to change something. That is why developing a new habit or changing an unpleasant habit, it's always a challenge because the mind is not ready for that. So when change comes and you had not figured out that probably it was going to come as it has arrived, so definitely that transition can be distressful to someone. And not just to someone, but to most people. And especially those people who are used in their life to only stay in their comfort zone. Like they don't like anything challenging. They don't like anything bothering them. They don't want anything different or any difference. They want the same. They don't want anything that is challenging them to think or think out of the box, as people say. They don't like that.
Wanataka tu kufanya vitu.
Yes, they want that which is hiyo yenye inajireta. You know, they want to do what's always done. Yes, what's simple, what they know how to do. Yeah. And that's the same thing that you find with those people who don't like also taking risk. Because those people who scare when they hear there's a risk being taken, that's the same reason that they don't want to have a new experience. That especially they are feeling like they may not be able to predict the outcome. So when they feel like, I want to engage into something, I've seen some people do it succeed, and I've also seen some people do it fail. So meaning that I'm getting into it, I don't know what's going to happen. So I'm just getting into it, and anything can happen. So most people don't like anything can happen. I want a surety of what is going to happen. I want to be assured that I'm going to get this, and this is going to go this way, and this will be the end result. True. So every time there is a change, our beliefs, our perceptions, and our interpretation about the world, and even because we are walking out of the norm, what we have, maybe possibly if you have been doing something or you have been somewhere for like 10 or 20 or 30 years, and now you have to transit from that place and go into somewhere else or into something else, then definitely that transition is going to shake your beliefs, it's going to shake your perceptions, it's going to make you want, or you must again start thinking about and seeing things from a different perspective. Yes. So now when this is happening, then definitely there must be distress. Someone must feel at unease. They must feel like, no, this is not comfortable. There's a level of discomfort that comes with that comes with any transition. And some of these transitions that we are talking about, when we are saying transition, we can talk about number one. You can have a transition whereby you have worked somewhere for 20, 30, 40, and maybe even some 50 years. Yes. Because it's not all positions or all places that you get to retire when you are 60. True. Maybe you started working when you are 15 or 20. And now you are retiring or you are 80. Yeah. So that means that you have worked for 50 to 60 years. True. Now, for 50 years, your routine has been, you wake up in the morning maybe around 6, you get yourself ready, by 7 you're out of the house, you go to the office or to work, wherever you work, by 8 you are there, and then the same routine repeats itself for 60 years. True. 50 to 60 years. That's not something very simple. Yes. That someone can just transit simply and easily one morning when now they no longer have to go to work. True. And that's why most of the times I see in most institutions and organizations that when someone is retiring, most of the times they are relieved of their duties several months before they actually get to retire. So that now you are allowed to have the freedom, sometimes even to come to work whatever time you want. Only to come to work on a need basis. True. So unaagua now for you, hata kama utakuwa unaingia kazi saa 3, hata saa 4, hata saa 5, whatever time wewe you are okay with that. Because now this organization, this institution is preparing you to be able to transit.
Unaandaliwa.
Yes. Ndio sasa utoke pale you've been for 50 years you've been waking up every morning and going to work. And now yesterday you woke up. That yesterday was the last day that you woke up that early and go to work. Yeah. And now from today onward, you never have to do that again. True. So that should I don't know what we should call it. Let's call it abrupt. Abrupt transition. And yes, from here to there, then again we will give you a good.
Kwa hivyo tayari umesema vizuri mshauri na sawa. Na hilo jambo tutazungumzia baadaye. Kuona vile ambavyo taasisi ama waajiri vile ambavyo wanaweza kufanya. Yes. Na umeweza kuzungumzia hiyo kwa awali, lakini tutazungumza kwa kina baadaye kama producer wetu ataweza kutupatia nafasi. Mshauri na saa amekuwa akizungumzia kuhusu, ametutafsiria jina post transition trauma ni nini, ambayo kwa Kiswahili ni kiwewe baada ya mabadiliko, na akaweza kutupatia mifano, na alikuwa anazungumzia kuhusu mfano huo wa mtu mmoja ambaye alifanya kazi takriban miaka 60 na umefika muda wake wa kustaafu, na wengi wamekuwa kwa changamoto nyingi sana, sababu alikuwa mahali labda kwa idara moja ya kiserikali, na pale alikuwa na kazi nyingi sana, lakini sasa ameenda kustaafu, sasa hakuna kazi yote, na hilo jambo linamletea kiwewe kiasi ya kwamba unaona kana kwamba ni mgonjwa. Kwa hivyo napenda kurejea kwako tena uweze kupeana mifano kadha, ili ule ambaye anatutizama aweze kuelewa hili ni jambo ambalo limekithiri katika jamii zetu, na wengi ambao wanapitia hiyo hali, wengine hata watu hawaelewi. Unaona mtu ni mtu ambao ukimzungumzia tu hivi amekasirika. Labda kama alikuwa na tangamana na watu sana, amejificha, hatoki kwa nyumba sababu ya mambo kama hayo. Na mambo kama mengine ni hata kazi. Kuna waume ambayo kazi ikiisha, na unajua mwanaume ni wallet, hasa hatokei, anakaa tu kwa nyumba, na imeleta changamoto pia kwa nyumba zao. Karibu.
Now, so if we can look at some of the examples of the transition that we are talking about. Number one, I have briefly mentioned about retirement. So retirement is one of the transition that is challenging to so many people. Because you are used to a certain routine, and now you have to shift to a totally different routine. You used to be told what to do, now you have to wake up and decide what to do. You used to have assignments, you used to have work, you used to have reports, you have to use these, you had meetings, you had phone calls to make, now you have nobody to call. So now that transition can be, you can experience post-transition trauma. The other kind of a transition that can cause that is marriage. Marriage is also a transition. Getting into marriage. Because now you're getting from a state of, I used to wash nguo za mtu moja when I want.
Sasa ni za watu wawili.
Yes, sasa ni za watu wawili. I used to cook chakula ya mtu moja. Now I'm doing it for two people. And I must do it every day because there's one person who must eat every day. And now, personally I used to eat maybe snacks and I would stay for 3 days without cooking. Again, there are so many people who get into marriage when they are not well prepared about what they should expect to find in marriage. And so that transition, especially without the knowledge, without some basic understanding of what marriage is and what you expect to happen in the marriage, again, that one can come as a shock and it can cause some people distress. The other thing in the line of marriage is divorce. Also, when you're walking out of a marriage, whether it is divorce or separation, because in most cases when we are talking about separation, it's not the official parting ways with someone. It's when you say in a relationship or in a marriage, can we give it a break? Can we take a break of maybe 1 year or maybe 5 months or several, whatever, maybe months or days or weeks, and then we figure things out. We figure ourselves together and see whether this is going to work. So that is separation. That you've not divorced completely, you've just separated. So whether it is separation or divorce, it can also cause post-transition trauma. And especially when you are not ready for it and when you didn't see it really coming. The other thing that can cause that is when you are transiting from one workplace to another workplace. So if you have been transferred from Ushago to town, you used to work in Nyadaro, huko ndani kabisa, kwa msitu huko. And now, that's where branch ya ile organization ama ile institution you work for imekuwa, and you've been working there for 10 or 20 years. And then one day, maybe that branch inafungwa, and then you are told now you have to go to the main branch in Nairobi, in town. And now that transition, when you are moving probably from Ushago to the city, and you don't maybe have a proper orientation on what happens, how you expect.
Kule labda ulikuwa unatoka unatembea tu kwenda kazi.
Yes.
Lakini sasa lazima uabiri matatu.
Exactly.
Makelele, jam.
Yes, makelele, jam, mwezi, nini, so many other things. So now that kind of a transition also can cause someone to have post-transition trauma. Another kind of a transition is when you students are also transiting from secondary school to college.
University.
Also that if a student is not well prepared and they don't know what to expect, and now when they get on the other side, they happen to meet experiences probably which the exact opposite of what they expected to find there. Because, for example, for us when we were in secondary school, those guys who used to come for motivational speaking and they were students from campuses, they used to tell us, you know, when you get in campus, you don't even go to class. You don't have to go to class, you just show up when you're doing exams. When you get into campus, girls are going to chase after you. You know, the girls will be there waiting for you. Yes, so you can do whatever you want, you have the freedom until you go there and you realize that even in some of the universities there's a register. You must sign in that you've gotten into class. And so you realize that much of it is the totally opposite of what you are told. So again, that can come as a shock. So the same thing, so every time there's a transition, we even have people who transit from one country to another. That adjusting to that new environment is also a challenge.
Unaweza pata kama kuna rafiki yangu mmoja alikuwa anafanya kazi hapa Kenya. Alafu akapata uhamisho akapelekwa Nigeria. Na Nigeria vyakula vyao karibu 90% huwa zinawekwa pilipili kabisa. Kali. Na huyu rafiki yangu hata ya sambusa ilikuwa ni kali. Sasa amefika chakula chote ni pilipili. Alipata shida kubwa sana.
To be able to adjust.
Sababu sasa lazima ule. Sasa ilikuwa na haezi chagua, sasa chakula ilikuwa ni mkate tu. Paka ikafika mahali sasa ilibidi azoe. Na sasa vile tunaongea na yeye amekuwa mtu akula pilipili.
Yeah, so that kind of a transition to some people it can also be a challenge.
So, lakini na yeye nadhania lakini chukua muda ni muktasari tu
tumefanya to adjust.
Ilichukua muda karibu miaka kama 2 hivi.
Yeah. So we are also looking at loss of job. So if you abruptly lose your job, or for example now what we have seen recently with Gen Zs and the goons going in the streets and wanapora as per market ya mtu, wanapora kazi ya mtu ya electronic gani hivyo, so they're able to steal everything. So there is someone mwenye amefuka kazi leo jioni akijua kesho ataamuka maybe first of all kuanza kudeliver the orders zenye zimefanywa. And then anaamukia kwamba duka yake imevujwa, imeibiwa, hakuna kitu. So that kind of a transition when you have lost your job, when you have lost your business, and you're even looking at individuals who lost their jobs and businesses, even during the COVID-19, like the person you have mentioned. So there are people who have not yet been able to heal those wounds. There are people who are still struggling because of that transition. So even when, for example, you go into the hospital and you are told you have a chronic illness, that's also a transition. Because maybe you have been told you have chronic illness, now you have to start going for regular checkups, you have to start going for chemotherapies, maybe if you have cancer or something. So you have to start a different program. The same thing happens when, if it's for example a parent, you have either lost your child through death, that is now what we call loss and grief, or as parents, all the kids have left home. They are bereft, they are gone.
Into
empty nests. And so now you used to make noise from morning to evening. Ng'ombe haijafanywa, kondoo hazijakamliwa, sijui paka haijachaniwa nywele, sijui panya haijapewa maziwa, sijui nini, so those kind of things. So now, because that's what you are used to do every single day. Maybe you expect in the evening every day, you find kids at home. And now they have to do 1, 2, 3 things. You have to have some conversations and all that. And now they are all gone. None of them is dependent on you. That transition can also bring issues. So any form of transition where someone have to come from one stage to a totally different level, to a totally different experience, to a totally different environment, to a totally different life experience. So definitely that comes with some form of distress. And that's what we are calling, that's some of the examples of what we are calling post-transition trauma.
Asante, umepatia na mifano mingi na nadhania wewe ambaye unatutizama hapo umeweza kuona jambo labda ya rafiki umekuwa ukimwona kidogo ule uzoefu wake ama ule uchangamfu wake umepungua, na labda umekuwa ukijiuliza ni nini, ama labda mtu alikuwa anafanya kazi na mlikuwa mnaonana kwa mara mingi, lakini siku hizi unamuona mara moja, na mkionana hataki muongee mambo mengi, anataka tu useme hai ama msalimiane, alafu ndio hiyo shughuli imeenda. Sasa amepeana mifano, na sasa tungependa tuweze sasa tuende hatua hiyo nyingine, na hatua hiyo nyingine ni kutuelezea ishara, sababu lazima kuwe kuna ishara, na tayari tumezisema, tumezigusia, lakini ningependa uziratibie, ndio yule ambaye anatutizama pale aweze kuangalia kama ni chakula hata sioni utamu wake, nijue kama hiyo, kama napitia hiyo hali, labda kuna uwezekano nina kiwewe baada ya mabadiliko.
Kweli. So when we are looking at some of the signs and the symptoms, or let's first of all talk about the signs, how you can be able to tell that someone, or even yourself, you are experiencing post-transition trauma after you have changed from one environment to another. So as we have mentioned, transition is not a one-day event. Like your friend mwenye ameanza kukula pilipili all of a sudden had to take even almost 2 years to be able now to mwili yake na system yake iweze kuadapt na kuzoea vizuri. So some of the things that you can be able to tell that someone is going through post-transition trauma is, number one, when this person used to be social and outgoing, and now they are locking themselves in the house and they don't want to talk to anyone. That's what we call withdrawal. Yes. So this person is experiencing some withdrawal. They don't want to interact with other people. They don't want to go where they used to go. If this person used to go to church, they stop. If this person used to go and meet friends for fun, or to play games, or to do whatever they used to do, this person doesn't want to do that anymore. They want to stay by themselves. So that is number one. We have withdrawal, and especially social withdrawal. Number two, we have incidences where you see someone is becoming easily irritable. When we talk about easily irritable, this is where this person used to not get angered easily by just anything. But now you come to realize that even a simple thing, a very simple thing, amekasirika, na sio tu kukasirika, this person has created a mountain out of an anthill. It's a very small thing. Like, for example, the way probably we could be doing like what? Maybe we are sharing the same office. In this same office, maybe I just happen to walk out of the office, and then ninaacha maybe stepra yangu ama karamu yangu hapo or a certain item. And then nakuja napata umechukua umeanza kutumia. And actually, by the end of the day, kuna mtu ataenda hapo akiwa na black eye. Simply because you took my stepra without asking for permission. So now, such simple things, you realize that they are irritating someone the way they used not to get irritated. So we have easily irritable. Some people will experience appetite loss, or some people will even start eating too much. So someone can be unable to eat, or they eat too much. So loss or excess or loss of appetite. When we are looking at also sleep, we usually call them vegetative symptoms. So vegetative symptoms, even when we are doing counseling, we talk about sleep, we are talk about loss, weight loss, and also appetite. Yes. So also something else is when it comes to sleep. So you realize that this person used to sleep well. Yes. So mtu alikuwa analala vizuri. But this person is either oversleeping or they are not able to sleep well. Because of the transition. True. Yeah. The same thing happens to weight. So this person is not able to is losing weight or is gaining too much weight. And now that those three things are usually put in the same category because they usually influence each other. Because someone who has no appetite is most likely going to lose weight, and this person is most likely going to have sleepless nights. Someone who has high appetite is also going to gain a lot of weight, and this person might sleep too much.
Yeah.
So they usually walk hand in hand like that. So something else that you can be able to experience from someone is when they neglect self-care. That this person used to take great care of themselves. Even simple things like
kama
taking a bath.
Yes, trouser lazima zipigwe pasi.
Yes.
Lakini sasa ukimwona zimekujana. Shati hata ni chafu.
Kama hata pasi aliuza ama iliharibika lakini hajaripesi. You know? So this person used to be clean, used to do nice things, alikuwa anakuwa, but this person anaanza kuwa very unclean. So akona uchafu nini mtu alikuwa bado anakuja maybe kama ni kazini mapema ama alikuwa ana show up on time. Now this person is starting to get red. So then we have that issue of neglecting self-care. And most of the times neglecting self-care is closely attached to withdrawal. So when someone doesn't want to interact with others, most of the times that's when they start neglecting self-care, because anakaa tu kwa nyumba and then anashida at watch movies, hata nguo hata fua, hata nyumba hata osha, hata vyombo hata osha, hata pika, you know. And those are the people now most of the times, especially those people who do a lot of withdrawing. They don't even want to cook because they are getting lazy. They are feeling fatigued. And fatigue,
that's also.
And fatigue is also another sign.
Yes. Unasikia umechoka. Hakuna kazi umefanya.
Hakuna. Wewe unasikia tu mwili imeshikana, umechoka. You wake up in the morning, instead of yawning, kwanza unajistretch, unasikia
unasikia bad.
Yes,
umetoka kitandani.
Yes, umetoka kitandani, but umechoka ni kama umelala ukibeba simiti. You know? Sasa ni venye unafeel ni kama nimelala nikibeba simiti lakini hata vumbi sina. Yeah. But now it is mostly because of that emotional burden that you have on your shoulders. Something else that someone can experience, sometimes it's use of drugs, excessive use of drugs and alcohol, especially if this was someone who used to just take just a small amount of alcohol, or if it's someone who never used to take any drugs or any alcohol, and now they have started doing it. So that's also can be a sign that this person, there is something wrong. So any change, because the signs can be too many because with every individual, a transition elicits specific or unique signs. So kwa kila mtu ita manifest differently. Kuna mwanaume maybe utapata ameanza kukosana na watoto, hata hataki kwenda nyumbani mapema, sijui hataki kufanya nini. So the signs can be so many. But the moment someone has a transition, and then you start realizing that there's a change in the pattern of their behavior, how this person used to show up is not how they show up anymore. How this person used to talk is not how they talk anymore. How this person used to groom is not how they groom anymore. How this person used to walk is not how they work anymore. So like there's something that has changed. So if you realize, especially that someone after a transition or after a big change, something has happened, then that's the time that someone is calling for help, even without calling for it. Yes.
Asante sana mshauri nasaha. Umeweza kutuelezea kwa njia taratibu na ambao ni inaeleweka, na nadhania mtazamaji ameweza kuelewa kwamba labda ameona rafiki yake kidogo hatangamani na watu, ni mtu ambaye ameanza kuwa tu mchafu, na ni mtu alieleweka kwamba kama vile vijana wanasema kwa mtaa, ni mtu alikuwa ni luku si luku. Lakini sasa imebadilika, unapata kwamba nguo zake ni chafu, trouser alikuwa anaipiga pasi, hapigi pasi na mambo kama hayo. Sijui kama unaweza kuelezea mtazamaji kati ya hizo ishara ni ngapi, tuseme kama ishara ni 10. Zikifika kama 5 ama 6 tunaweza jua kweli kabisa huyu anapitia hiyo hali ya post transition trauma. Ama kwa Kiswahili kiwewe baada ya mabadiliko.
Baada ya mabadiliko. So if someone is experiencing at least 5,
kama 5.
At least 5. That's someone who need help. Because when it is 1, and someone can even actually be experiencing one of the symptoms, but this one sign is extreme. Ni kubwa. You know? Because for example, if we are talking about one of the signs being excessive use of drugs and alcohol, so that alone is enough to destroy the life of that person.
Hakuwa na kawaida na kunywa.
So when we can say that maybe around 5, half of those signs should tell you that this person really need help. But even if they are not 5, you don't have to wait until they are 5. Even if you observe that just one change, it's always good, and that's why I always tell people, and especially if there is someone who is close to you, if you ever realize that there is a shift in behavior of someone, always mention it, bring it into the awareness, because this could be happening and the person is not aware. But the moment you tell this person, Eliud, nimekuwa nikiona squeeze personally, mimi si fan wa kunyoa sana nywele, naweza kaa bila, so mtu anaweza niambia, Eliud, na nimeona umekuwa hunyoi sana lakini siku hizi unanyoa sana, what is happening?
Nini?
You know, either way it is a change, either way it is it's not on my
iwe nzuri amani. Lakini uone imebadilika, yani tabia imebadilika.
Yes, it could be changing for good. Mimi naweza kuambia siku hizi nanyoa haraka juu maybe niko na naumwa na kichwa, ama niko na inaitwa dead draft, ama inaitwa nini, ama niko naona nywele inanichosha tu, ama brother wangu amefungua kinyozi, sasa tunapitia tu hapo kila siku ananinyoa, or whatever the case. But the moment you realize that there is a change in someone's behavior or a pattern of actions, always bring it into the awareness in a good way, in a loving and a caring way. So, okay, by the way, I'm not saying there is a problem, or I'm not saying that it's a bad thing that is happening, but I've noticed that there's something you used to do this way, and this way and this way, but I've realized that for the last several weeks, or for the last several months, or so for the last several days, you have been doing it like this or like that. What could be happening? First of all, are you aware that there's that change? Yes, have you realized that you are doing, there has been change in your behavior? So that now, if this person is not, first of all, even aware that this change is happening, at least now they know. And even if they knew, now they're able to know that it's other people are starting to observe it. Watu washaanza kuona. So I need to do something about it. Yes.
Asante sana mshauri nasaha kwa kuweza kufafanua na wingi wa matumaini. Yule ambaye anatutizama labda kidogo alikuwa anatatizika wakati tulipoanza, sababu unajua wengine wanasema hizi ni vizungu vingi na mambo kama hayo, lakini elewa hata tunapozungumza vizungu vingi, lakini nashukuru kwamba tuna tafsiri ili uweze kuelewa. Kiwewe kwa kawaida ni jambo ambalo walinatatiza watu sana, na mara nyingi kama vile tumemalizia mshauri na saa amemalizia kusema ni kwamba wengine wetu wakati mwingine hatuelewi, hatujui. Lazima mtu akuguse akuambie na fulani wa fulani hapa kuna jambo ambalo haliendi vizuri, na ni vyema tuweze kufanya hivyo. Sasa ningependa tuweze kwenda kwa nafasi nyingine, tuweze kuzungumzia kuhusu jamii ama hata kanisa inaweza kujipanga namna gani. Umepeana mfano kama mtu yule ambaye amefanya retirement. Haya, ukapeana mfano wa vijana wetu. Labda kanisa ama jamii inafaa ifanye jambo fulani ambayo inaweza kudhibiti ama kumudu hiyo hali ya kwamba wakati haya mabadiliko yanafanyika, kuna mambo yanafanyika ambayo inaweza athiri huyo mtoto ama huyo mtu asiwe ni wa msaada kwa jamii.
Yeah, sure.
Unaweza zungumzia labda kama chief hivi, kama ni baraza ama ni idara ambazo zinaweza kuwa wanaweza leta mambo za kufanya kama hamasisho kwa umma, waweze kuelewa kwamba mambo kama hii inafanyika, lakini muelewe kwamba lazima ifanyike sababu tunaishi kwa hii dunia, na mambo iwezi kusalia tu vile ilikuwa utangia mwanzo hadi sasa, na mambo kama kwa kanisa wakati mwingine si ufanye mzaha kama ilivyokuwa mwanzo ilivyo sasa na hata milele. Lakini haya ni mambo ya Mungu, lakini ya kidunia wakati mabadiliko yanafanyika, na ni vyema tuweze kujua yanapofanyika, hata kama ni ghafla, tutamudu namna gani hasa jamii. Na hiyo ninazungumzia kuhusu makanisa na hata mtu binafsi aweze kuelewa mambo kama hayo. Hata kama ni mzazi pia tuweze kumhusisha, aweze labda kufunza watoto, waambie ndio katika maisha hii ndio maisha inakuaga hivi. Lakini kuna wakati mwingine kazi inaweza potea. Mtoto alizoea kula mkate labda nusu mkate peke yake, lakini sasa kazi imepotea, hakuna pesa. Hasa huyo mtoto aelewe kwamba hasa hata uji unaweza kunywa.
Naam. So number one thing that I can say about the society and those people who are close to the person or wherever the change or the transition or the shift is happening. The most important thing that people need to understand is this. When a change happens, it changes everything. The change doesn't happen to the job. The change doesn't happen to the business. The change doesn't happen to, it happens to everything. And so one thing is that you need to understand that the person you are interacting with before the shift, before the change, is no longer the same person. That is not the same person. So your interactions with that person also need to change. And you have to start seeing them differently depending on what has changed or how they have changed. For example, we are talking probably of a society that used to depend on someone who used to pay school fees for certain kids in the society. And this person has retired. If you continue to demand to this person that he or she must continue paying school fees and feeding certain families in the society, you are saving that person and you are killing the other one. So the one to whom you expect, because sometimes that's what is most stressing, especially to those people who retire, and they had certain monetary responsibilities in the society. And now they know that other than pension, there's nothing else that I'm going to do. There's no other source of income, and especially if I had not established a sustainable source of income that is going to ensure that there's flow of funds so that I can continue doing what I was doing. So, and that's why sometimes you find that someone, because of the responsibilities they had in the society, the monetary responsibilities, amepata pension, na hiyo pesa yote, retirement benefit, amechukua, amelipa school fees ya hao watoto wote, imeisha yote. So the next minute, after 2 months or 3 months, the same person sasa anakaa pale kwa maduka pale kwa mtaa, unachomoka pale kwa barabara Mumeto pale. So anakaa hapo sasa, anaanza kuopa watu 10, ninunulie sigara, ninunulie chupa moja, nipe 10, nipe 200, nipe 300. And this is someone who had enough resources that would have sustained him or her for quite some time. Or this is the same person who would have used some of these resources maybe to set up a business, so that now, the time they used to wake up every morning and go to the office, at least now they can wake up and go and open the business. Even if the business is doing nothing much for them. Even if the business
anapata mahali ambapo anaweza kuwa anatangamana na watu. Jinsi vile ambavyo alikuwa anatangamana na wao akiwa pale kazini.
Exactly. So we need to understand that when a change happens, it happens to the person and the entire person. And so when there is a change, we need to perceive that person to whom the change has happened as a totally different person. That is not the same person. That is someone else. Because that shift has changed, that change has happened. So when we are looking at the society now, the society can be able, number one, to go easy on those people who have experienced certain sudden changes or transitions in their lives. And maybe the society had some demands on them.
Yes.
Some expectations on them. So they first of all can pause. They can say now, so and so, kulingana venye tunamuona, inakaa biashara yake imeanguka. So kama alikuwa analipia watoto school fees, so now please we need to give him a break. So lazima tuchangane nyinyi sisi wenyewe, tujue venye mtoto atasomeshwa, but for kwake
kwa muda kidogo.
Yes, mpaka kwanza tumpe some space ndio kwanza aweze kurestore maneno. So the society first of all can go easy on these people.
Kwa hivyo jamii lazima iwapatie muda wa kuweza kujipanga.
Give these people the space to be able to adjust themselves. Now, even I'm not only talking about the society, even the church itself. Because sometimes you go into the church and it's those people who have retired that they are actually expected to give more because they are seen and perceived as people who don't have much bills to pay.
Majukumu na
Yes, hawana majukumu. Urei so ile pesa uko nayo wewe tulete because una watoto kwa nyumba, una watoto nyumbani, sijui unaendea pesa ya wazee, sijui ulipi nini, sijui hata hauna haja ya wifi na Netflix na nini. So hivyo. So now they are able to, they should also give these people a break and understand. So that now these people don't feel pressured to push themselves to the corner or to the wall, such that they might intend to hurt themselves in order to be able to meet the demands of the society. So when someone has gone through a shift, the society need to give them the necessary space and the necessary adjustments through perception and anything else that they may need from these people, so that this person can be able to adjust through the change. I also mentioned about institutions and even also in the churches and other organizations. For example, there are changes which people can be prepared about. So if someone is going through retirement, in the organization where they are retiring, that organization or institution can prepare these people. And at some point have even been invited in certain institutions to help the retirees to be able to transit properly from work to home. And so you see that these institutions, they are able to allocate certain resources to be able to help these people.
Yes.
And sometimes I even tell them that if you're giving this person a retirement benefit of 100,000, for example, you'd rather give them 90,000 and then get someone who can talk to them, mumulipe hiyo 10,000, awaongeleshe, so that now out of this conversation, yes, it's going to save him the 90,000. The 90,000 here atapewa itaisave, because huyu mtu atakuja awape plan, because majority of them they are hawana plan. Ama they have very unrealistic plans. Nitatoka hapa nini nifungue supermarket, nikifungua supermarket, then anafungua supermarket for 2 months. Ni yeye tu peke yake ananunua.
Kama juzi tulikuwa tumeenda workshop ama washa ya wanaume. Na tulikuwa tunazungumzia kuhusu retirement. Na tukafunzwa vizuri sana. Wakati wa mapumziko, mzee mmoja akakaribia huyo ambaye alikuwa anatuzungumzia. Na wakati alipomkaribia akataka kuelezewa zaidi. Ilikuja kuibuka kwamba huyu mzee alikuwa karibu kuenda retire. Na huyu mzee mipango ile alikuwa nayo ni kwamba alielewa kwamba ukienda retire unaoa mke mwingine. Na unamjengea na sasa na mambo mengine. So yeye alikuwa anaona hizo pesa zake zimetosha kufanya hivyo. So wakakaa chini wakaanza kupiga hesabu, akaulizwa ni nyumba kiasi gani wanataka kujenga. Akasema, akaambia nyumba kama hii inahitaji pesa kama hizi. Sasa zile walikadiria na wakakuja kupata figa ile ya yenyewe. Ule mzee alipoangalia
pesa imeisha. Kama afanye hiyo mabota itabidi auze kidney. Auze kidney moja.
Na nashukuru kwamba tulikuwa na nafasi hiyo ya kwenda katika hiyo workshop ya retirement. Huyo mzee alisaidika. Alisema kwamba mimi nilikuwa nimeelewa. Nilikuwa nadhani hiyo pesa ya retire ni pesa mingi sana. Lakini sasa vile tumepiga hesabu nyumba nini na ile vitu yote alikuwa anataka awekee huyo mke mpya. Akaambiwa hatakuweza tu kwenda kutoa mahari. Pesa imeisha. Akaachana na hiyo mambo. Kwa hivyo ni vyema kama vile unasema workshop kama hizo ni vyema kuweza kuelezea watu kama hao ambao wanaenda retirement. Na ndio hii kiwewe ambayo inaingia wakati mabadiliko yanakuja isije, na ndio watu waweze kujimudu. Karibu.
Yes, because when people are prepared to do the swift motion from one point to another, they may not really be prepared with the exact experience that they are going to have, because you cannot foretell exactly what is going to happen after the person has transited. But you can be able to work on the basic that almost everyone must experience. Because if we are talking about transition from work to home now, retirement, you expect you have excess time. So you can explore with this person, how will you use your excess time? You can explore with this person, what kind of a realistic investment can you be able to do? Because now this person, like that friend,
yes.
Now this is someone when we are going to give you 2 million for the anaona 2 million ni pesa mingi ikiwa pamoja. But and then anaanza kupanga now 2 million kwanza nitafungua biashara ya 1.5. So biashara anaifanyia mahesabu anaona itakula 1.5. Hajaweka miscellaneous, hajaweka nini. And then kuweka hiyo biashara anarealize kwamba there's some losses. And so by the time the business peaks, the person has already used all the money. So there are certain basics, because we cannot really foretell the exact experience that you're going to have when you are transiting from one place to another. Yeah. But we can be able to explore with you the possibilities and the basics, and then we can be able to come up with alternative solutions that you can be able to approach the possibilities that we have explored together. So if institutions and organizations and individuals who have the resources and the know-how can be able to come together and be able to prepare those people who are transiting from one place to another, or those who have already transited. Because, for example, if someone undergoes a sudden loss, could it be business, could it be a loved one, whatever kind of a loss. Someone who has undergone a loss, we could not have prepared that person yesterday. No. Because we didn't know that the loss is going to happen the next minute. But now when the loss has happened, we don't have to say that, that's an Aisha happened. Hatukum prepare so much akai. No. Now you sit down and now you help this person process the loss. You help the person now to process what has already happened. So when we are saying that we are preparing people before, we are preparing them on what might happen. But when now they have transited, now it's happening, they also need to be followed up, and then they need to be asked, okay, now we prepared you to get into it, now you are in it, what is happening? Now they'll be able to say, now that I've graduated, now that I have retired, now that I have lost my friend, now that this has happened, that has happened, now that I'm married, now that I'm divorced, now these are the list of things that are happening. Okay, now this person is able to now be able to handle what is happening, because before it happened, probably they had been prepared that something like that must happen or might happen. When it happens, it doesn't catch them by surprise. They saw it coming. But now when it comes, it doesn't mean that now automatically they have the immunity for it. It's still going to affect them in one way or another. Now we can come in and help them now.
Umuhimu ni kwamba
yes,
makali ya kiwewe hicho hayatakuwa ni
makubwa,
yanakuwa ni makali ambayo yanaweza kudhibitiwa kwa
exactly. So and we empower this person to not only to become more independent and not dependent. Because the reason why, and I always tell this to elder people when I have talks with them, the reason why most elder people are cursing the children and they are hating their children and they are not in good terms with their children is because this person has retired and now this person is demanding from the kids that they have to give him or her exactly everything the parent asks for. Huyu mzazi ameretire ama sasa amezeeka, now this person has to rest. And now after that they didn't have a good investment or a good independent source of income such that now they can depend on themselves. And so they'll start putting pressure on the kids, forgetting that these kids have families. These kids have bills to pay. They also have other things that they need to do for themselves. So when now they start doing this and now they become very independent, very dependent on the kids, definitely it's going to come with a lot of other issues. And that's why sometimes you'll find that even during the holidays and even the Christmas and those other significant, the events and the seasons that people hold significant to them, they even don't go home. Because anajua nikifika nyumbani nitakuwa kwa mahitaji ni mengi. Yes, nitaanza kuambia sasa ona venye umeona hadi umetoa kitabu na nilikuitisha 200 ukakataa kunipea. You know, naona kabisa ukufe. now I want nataka siwezi tembea na matatu, nataka niende na gari. Najua nikienda na gari hiyo ionekane nyumbani, tena nitaanza kuabua nimeanza worship devil ama nimenyima mzazi ndio nini, you know, that kind of things. So that's why sometimes even kids don't want to visit their parents because of such. So when people are prepared, well prepared, even when we are talking about divorce, we always request that when you are going through a divorce, you should take some time to reflect on what you are about to get into. True. To actually understand what divorce is, to understand the situations, the circumstances that are going to follow after that, so that now when you get there, you will not be shocked that something is happening. And even sometimes, I usually tell individuals, now if you're getting into something, try to see if you can find someone who have already had the experience. And go and ask them, how was it for you? Yes, how did you cope? How did you maneuver through the situation? You are not asking them because you are going to have an exact similar experience like them, but at least it's going to give you a reality show, a reality perception, a reality experience of what actually happens.
Ni kama kushikwa mkono.
Exactly, like a mentor.
Mkono alafu ndio uweze kupata nguvu zako, alafu basi uweze.
You can be able to now go through the experience. So when we are able to prepare people, when they are about to get into a situation they have not been in before, then we are helping them. But if people can be able, because there's now the majority population that need preparing, and now we have those people who have mastered the art of being okay with how life is, with what happens, and those now don't need to be prepared for anything, because for them whatever comes, they don't panic. They don't first of all start looking for who to blame. They don't start looking for who to complain to. They first of all sit down with the moment, and they try to see how they can be able now to resolve and maneuver. So there's that group.
Ile muhimu ni kwamba ni mazungumzo haya ambayo tunazungumza, mtazamaji, nitaweze kuelewa ni kwamba kuna watu ambao hata wakati huu tunazungumza wako katika hiyo hali, na imeathiri mahusiano, imeathiri yeye kutangamana sababu ya hali hii ya mabadiliko. Na zaidi kwanza tunazungumzia kwamba kwanza kuna juzi mzee ambaye ukimwangalia unaona alikuwa na kila kitu ambacho alikuwa nacho, lakini mke wake alikufa ghafla kama vile ushauri na saa ameweza kutuambia. Lakini aliingiwa na kiwewe kiasi ya kwamba hakuwa anaweza hata kuambia mtu yote. Na cha kushangaza ni kwamba alirudi akajitia kitanzi. Na asubuhi hiyo aliita binti yake mkubwa tu na akampa ATM ya bank na akampa pin, akamwambia unajua mtu anaendaga safari na ni vyema uweze kujua mambo kama haya. Lakini msichana hakuweza kujua hii ni bendera nyekundu, kwamba huyu si safari, ni kwenda anaenda akiendaga. Na hiyo ndio mambo tunajaribu kuzuia, sababu mzee kama huyo ni mzee ambaye alikuwa ni mtu ambaye alikuwa na kila kitu. Alikuwa na ndoa nzuri ambao ilikuwa ni tamanio ya watu wengi. Ni mtu ambaye alikuwa na biashara zake, alikuwa na watoto ambao wengine wameoa, wengine bado wanasoma. Ni mtu alikuwa anaishi vizuri, lakini kiwewe cha mke wake kumuondokea kilifanya aingie katika hiyo hali ya kutokubali na mambo kama hayo, na akaona sasa mimi nina maana gani? Mke ameenda, hakuna sitatambuliwa na mambo kama hayo. Na kama vile umesema kwamba ni vyema uweze kupata mtu ambaye mtatembea na yeye, aweze kukutia moyo na kutembea na yeye kwa hiyo safari, ili uweze pia kuweza kupata nguvu. Na hiyo jambo lilimfanya akajitia kitanzi. Na ni jambo lilikuwa ni ya kutia hofu sana na mastikiko makubwa, kwamba kuna wanaume ambao hawakuweza kutambua kwamba huyu jamaa anapitia magumu sana. Na ndio napenda kushukuru Ezra Christian TV na Chumba cha Mawaidha. Tunawaletea haya mambo ambayo kidogo yanafichwa ama yanafagiliwa chini ya mkeka. Lakini ni mambo ambayo ni muhimu sana na ni vyema tunaweza kuyazungumzia. Narejea kwa mwalimu na sana, naona tuna muda kidogo aweze kuzungumza. Tumezungumza mambo mengi. Labda wengine wasema Bazuu sasa tumesikia. tumeelewa, umeweza kutafsiri hiyo post transition trauma ni nini, umepeana ishara, umepeana hata mifano, hata ukashauri hata jamii na makanisa jinsi ambavyo wanafaa kufanya. Lakini sasa turejee kwa huyo mtu, tumzungumzie, tuweze kumwambia kwamba dhamana yake, hata kama kumepatikana mabadiliko, dhamana yake imesalia tu pale pale. Na nataka kupeana mfano wa, tuseme kama una noti ya shilingi 1000. Hiyo noti ukiangusha kwa matope, alafu uitoe, ile dhamana yake inabaki pale pale.
Yeah,
ukifinya hivi uikanyagie chini, alafu ikunjue, bado ile dhamana yake ya 1000 inasalia vivyo hivyo. Tunataka yule ambaye anapitia hiyo hali aweze kuelewa. Kwa hivyo nataka kurejea kwako na tuweze kuleta hiyo dhamana tu ambayo tunazungumzia ni nini. Ni nini ambacho mtu anaweza fanya hata mabadiliko kama haya yanapofanyika, anaweza bado kujimudu.
Query, and I'm going to start from that point, and I'm going to say something a little bit not very common, but I want people to understand that there's a part of you which never loses its value no matter what happens. That there's a part of you that cannot be affected by anything in life. And that's the true and the real you, which is not subject and cannot be affected by anything that is happening. And that's why at some point I talked about awareness. Because when you know that you are in distress, that means that there's the part of you which is in distress, and there's another part of you which is watching the distress happening. Mm-hmm. So that tells you that just like a note of 1,000, which cannot lose value despite what happens to it, which cannot be affected by anything that happens to it, because in reality it is not happening to it directly. So there's also a part of you which is the real you, which cannot be affected by anything that happens in this life. However, we are looking at a situation where you've gone through a transition which is giving you a certain level of distress. One thing that you need to understand is that change is inevitable. You grow because you change. The person you were yesterday, you wouldn't be happy if you are still the same person. If you are already, if your body appearance is the same as when you were 6 years old and now you are 35, you wouldn't be so happy about that. So change is inevitable. And we say that only change doesn't change, that only change is constant. That you are going to change. That's the only thing that doesn't change. The fact is, you are going to change, and that never changes. But anything else other than change, always change. So we need to be comfortable with transitions in life. We need to be comfortable with moving from one point to another. We need to realize and understand that change is not there to break you. Change is there to build you. When something has changed, and that's why sometimes I'm not okay with people who keep moving back to the previous situations and circumstances after other circumstances have forced them out of the situation. That's why sometimes you see someone who is fired from a job and then they keep begging the employer to take them back. It's not necessary. It's not worth it. You see someone else who walks out of a toxic relationship or marriage, and especially marriages, and this person still keep going back to the same person. So when a change happens, the most important thing that you need to do, number one, is to sit down with the change and have a conversation with it and accept it totally. Because it has already happened. It has already happened. And I always say that one thing that doesn't make any sense to me at all is when you try to not accept what is. I call it the is-ness. When you try to reject and resist the is-ness. If something already is, It cannot not be. It has already happened. And so, when we talk to people who are addicted, who are experiencing addiction in rehabs, this is what we tell them. And this is a very common prayer that you find in most rehabilitation centers and wellness centers. They say that, God, give me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change. The courage to change the things that I can change. And the wisdom to know the difference between the things that I can change and the things that I cannot change. And that's what everyone needs. You need to know what is there to be, not to be changed, to be accepted as it is. And you need to start to learn how to accept it as it is without trying to wish it was different. Without trying to wish it had happened in a different way. Because most people lie to themselves. They will sit down and start saying to themselves, if only I would have done this differently, things would have been different. But no. Yes, they may have been different, but who lies to you that they would have been different in a positive direction? Anything can change to any direction. So when we have gone through a sudden change, which was not anticipated, when we go through an overwhelming emotional issue in our lives, we need first of all to sit down and ask ourselves, what has just happened? And you say to yourself, this and this has happened. Okay, can I be able to change anything about it? No, I can't. Good. Then what do? I accept it as it is. It already is, and resisting what is the greatest mistake and the greatest injustice you can do to yourself, because you always hurt yourself, and what is will never not be. It will remain as it is, but you get hurt by the end of the day. So you want to accept it. And then you also ask yourself, okay, this has already happened. Can I change it? Yes, I can change it. Okay, good. What do I need to be able to change it? Probably I need some help. Go ask for it. If you feel you need help from someone to change what has already happened, then go and do that. So, when something emotionally overwhelming has happened in your life, when a change has occurred, whether anticipated or not, whether foreseen or not, you need to sit down first of all and relax. Before you say this is bad, this is good. Before you say this is evil, this is good. Before you say this is deserving, this is undeserving. Before you say this should have happened or shouldn't have happened. Before you say I deserve, I don't. Before you start saying who am I to blame? God am to blame. God is to blame. My spouse is to blame. My parents are to blame. No. Before you go there, first of all sit down with the experience itself and ask yourself, why did this have to happen, and why did it have to happen specifically to me and not my friend or my neighbor? Simply because there's something that I was supposed to learn from this. The mistake is, if you don't run from a transition, if you don't run from a change, that change will keep occurring in different versions until you learn what you must learn.
Asante.
And that's why sometimes, Bazoo, you'll find people who move in the same cycle and loop of events. Anapojipata hapa, anatoka kwa hii relationship ni baya, kama hajasoma lesson anaingia kwa ingine baya. After hiyo anaingia kwa ingine baya. After hiyo anaingia kwa ingine baya. Ndio. Unapata huyu mtu ametoka kwa hii job, after hiyo job anaingia kwa hiyo job nyingine. After hiyo job anaingia kwa hiyo job nyingine. And all those workplaces ends up to be toxic workplaces. But because you never learned from the very first episode of the similar experience that you had. So when we experience something that is emotionally overwhelming, let us sit down with the experience itself and ask ourselves, what can I learn from this? So that I can use it as foundation to be able to shape my life better and even have the muscles to solve any similar or anything that can come my way that can carry the same magnitude.
Asante sana mshauri nasaha, umezungumza kwa kina na mapana, na muda nao kidogo umetupa kisogo, na tunahitaji kumalizia show yetu ya leo. Na naona kuna mambo mengi ambayo hatukugusa, na inaonekana juma lijalo tutaweza kuzungumzia, sababu umezungumzia kuhusu jambo lingine ambalo unaona kwamba unaweza kupata mabadiliko, lakini tena utarejea tu. Kwa hivyo hilo ni jambo ambalo pia tunafaa tuzungumzie, tuweze kusaidia hawa watu ambao tena wanajipata katika hizo hali za mabadiliko ambayo inaleta kiwewe na inakurejesha tena hapo hapo. Tumekuwa tukizungumzia kuhusu post transition trauma ama kiwewe baada ya mabadiliko, na tuna wingi wa matumaini kwamba umemakinika. Kama umeingia kuchelewa, sisi ni wakarimu sana. Rejea katika Facebook ama YouTube na utaweza kufuatilia yale ambayo tuliyazungumzia. Mimi ni wenu Bazuu, the wise man. Tunashukuru kwamba mmekuwa pamoja nasi na show leo imekuwa lit. Nashukuru Pastor Grace na ndugu yangu mmoja hapa anaitwa Dagi na wengine wengi ambao wametuletea comments kem ambazo zimewagusa kwa njia ya kipekee. Ndapata tu kurejea kwa mshauri na saa apeane namba ya simu alafu ndio tuweze kutamatisha.
Asante. Yeah. So if you like to have a conversation with me one on one, you want to come to my office, or you want us to have a virtual conversation, if you're stuck somewhere, if you want me to come and help people who are transiting from one stage to another, or if you have experienced a transition and you're not able to process it or handle it, you can call me through 0713 550 493 0713 550 493.
Asante sana mshauri na sawa. Huyu tumefika mwisho wa chumba cha Mawaidha show ambayo iko katika Ezra Christian TV, na napenda kushukuru mwelekezi wangu Kim Proper, mkurugenzi wangu na pia mama yetu ambaye tunampenda sana, ambaye ana mkarimu wa kutupatia muda wa kuweza kuzungumzia haya mambo kwa kina, ambaye ni Pastor Naomi. Tunashukuru sana kwa nafasi hii ametupatia, na tunaomba kwamba Mungu endelee kumpatia neema na nguvu ya kuweza kuendelea na hii mipango. Hadi wakati mwingine, nataka kumalizia na msemo ambao unasema, yaliyopita si ndwele, tugange yajayo.